Welcome back to Speed. Now, most of us spend our day in two kinds of buildings, our offices and our homes. We'll be examining developments that make our homes more environmentally friendly in a short while. But before that, Speed's Christine Yeo explores some commercial spaces and finds out exactly what makes these properties green.
Did you know that the building sector alone contributes 40% of the world's energy, 12% of the world's water and 30% of the world's greenhouse emissions? These figures indeed are very troubling. That's why greening our buildings is no trivial matter, especially when it comes to buildings that are utilized 24/7. Malls, offices, car parks. These are the places you go to every day. So it's critical to have a second look at some of these spaces. What contributes to the greening of a commercial building, and what makes a green building really green?
It's very important for us as a responsible corporate citizen. The less we use, the less natural resources are being depleted. And in this way, we help to save the environment.
But being eco-friendly isn't just about using less, it's about being efficient. It means getting the most out of the little that you have. In the context of commercial property, a truly efficient building will use the least amount of energy for the longest possible time over the space it occupies. This idea is analogous to a car engine. A car engine that is fuel efficient will take you the longest distance with a small amount of fuel. In the same way, an eco-friendly building maximizes the energy it has to keep it functioning for as long as it can. To understand this better, we take a peek into the life cycle of a building. Truly green commercial buildings begin early, at the concept stage.
Right from the inception phase, you need to define what are the objectives of the building. You need to prepare a proper design brief. And after the design brief is done, you need to carry out the phases like the conceptual design phase, and later on the tendering and the construction.
Green construction also helps reduce the carbon footprint of a building. City Square Mall, for example, saved enough water to fill 8 Olympic pools, simply by recycling silt water during the construction phase. It is methods like these that earned City Square Mall its platinum status by the Building Construction Authorities of Singapore, or BCA, in 2007. This is the highest award given under Singapore's Green Mark Assessment Scheme. Green construction methods belong to what we call the passive design stage. The more critical part of a building comes after that, at the active design stage.
Passive and active are the two components of the design. So as I said, the passive features are more like the building envelope, what we call, the skin of the building, the orientation of the building, the shading. So these sort of things are all passive, because once you fix them in at the construction phase, you can't change them later on. The active measures are something also you need to fix during the construction phase or during the fit-out phase, but they could be varied a bit. For example, the chiller's efficiency could be varied a bit. You can actually do a retrofit on the chiller.
So energy systems like those delivering your electricity belong to the active design stage. Air conditioning systems typically take up a substantial proportion of a building's total energy consumption, particularly in countries with tropical climates. Install an efficient system and you potentially slash up to 30 to 40% of your total energy consumption. One building that takes full advantage of this is the Zero Energy building at the BCA Academy. Instead of the high end of a wall, air conditioning vents are placed on the ground. This helps to displace hot air that rises, cooling the room faster, hence consuming less energy. Light systems also include sensors to detect daylight, reducing unnecessary artificial lighting in a room. But what is a building without people using it? Green tenants are also critical in making commercial buildings truly eco-friendly.
The operation takes about 80% of the energy of the building. So that's where the tenants will be playing in. They'll be actually using the building. You need to have, for example, things like green tenancy guidelines for the tenants. You should also have more measurement being done during the tenancy phase or during the operation phase of the building.
The number as well as the type of tenants matter in a commercial space. In this respect, whether the commercial property is a mall or an office building makes a significant difference in the way energy can be efficiently managed. Malls in general tend to be a little more complex. Shopping malls, firstly, operate over longer and more irregular hours. They also hold a wide variety of tenants, each requiring different demands for energy, water and waste disposal. A food and beverage tenant, for instance, requires more waste treatment approaches in comparison to, say, a fashion tenant. So marrying all these different demands in a common system requires a more sophisticated approach to cutting emissions effectively. Yet much of the responsibility on these tenants still demands further clarity.
I think in national standards, it tends to be overlooked. The reason being the business case for that is quite fragmented. So who does actually take care of the operational phase? Is it the developer, is it the facilities people, or is it the tenants?
For the Green Mark Assessment Scheme, engagement with businesses typically begins early. Economic incentives also provide a stimulus to keep their objectives attainable. The national target is to have at least 80% of buildings in Singapore to be Green Mark certified by 2030. But handing out certificates alone cannot achieve this. Accountability, too, is imperative.
Under the Green Mark scheme, we have what you call a post-occupation verification. So after we have certified the building, we actually come back to the building after it has been occupied for about a year, and we look at the actual performance of the building. This is to ensure that the certified building continues to operate as a green building to the level that it has been certified.
Going green requires a collective effort from all parties. That's why City Square Mall adopts an inclusive definition of environmental stakeholders. For them, they include tenants as well as the public.
City Square Mall has in place a program of activities to encourage and to rally our tenants and shoppers to go green. We organize eco activities and exhibitions regularly. We partner with government agencies, with NGOs and even schools for programs to raise awareness of eco-consciousness to save the environment.
Green commercial buildings remain few and far between, and although there are no real international benchmarks, those standards that do exist can help point us in the right direction. Projects like these certainly provide a high benchmark for green commercial projects of the future.
With standards like these in place, hopefully we'll see more commercial properties embrace green practices like these in the near future. We're going to take a short break, but if you're interested in how developers are making more environmentally friendly homes, don't miss our final report.